Hello and welcome to my Edinburgh Fringe show. It's yet to find a venue, so we're giving short previews here on the wonderful Meadows in Edinburgh. Two more today at 12:30 and 1 o'clock, and three more tomorrow, Monday, very possibly Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday and Monday if I can't find anywhere else to perform. So my show is called Delivering the Impossible. It's got various subtitles, successful metaphors for software project management, how software is eating the world, how to rule the world. All of these things are relevant, and the basic point of my show is that if you look at things in a different way, then you can see things differently and be more successful. So the astrologer and astronomer Sir Isaac Newton said that if I have seen further, it's because I've stood on the shoulders of giants. And a good friend of mine said, if I've seen further, it's because I've looked down the right end of the telescope. The computer science pioneer Alan Kay said that point of view is worth 80 IQ points. And there's a positive aspect to that, of course, which is that if you can find a different point of view, maybe you can add 80 IQ points, which would make nearly all of us a genius if we could add 80 IQ points to the way we were thinking about something. But there's the downside of that as well, which is some ways of looking at things can take away 80 IQ points, which means that some things can make you very, very dumb. Now, why am I talking about software development and project management of software development? Why is this something that it's worth talking about now in 2023? Well, the guy who basically started the World Wide Web revolution, the guy who was behind the first web browser, which I'll remember in a minute the name of, Mark Anderson is his name. He wrote a paper in 2010 saying software is eating everything. What did he mean by software is eating everything? He meant that all of the things that we really value in life, software is now a fundamental part of them. So if you think about romance and sex, that has been completely engulfed by dating sites and porn. And if you think about television, that has been completely engulfed by companies like Netflix. If you think about politics, a lot of what happened in the kind of extremely peculiar elections of 2016 and then the attempts to kind of deny the elections in 2020, a lot of that was connected with software. Software is eating everything. So, and the companies that are good at software, like Amazon and Facebook, they are dominating and ruling the world. That's why knowing how to be good at managing software development and making software is an enormous advantage to any company, an enormous advantage to any individual who has an idea and wants to kind of start a startup. Knowing how to manage projects that can develop software is a huge skill. So why me? Why would you pay attention to anything that I say? Why would you listen to any advice on how to succeed from a man who's talking in a field? Well, I've been doing software development and project management for a long time. I've been doing project management since 1998. I would argue the first project that I managed was a couple of guys from the former German Democratic Republic who'd learnt to program on Commodore 64s that had been smuggled over the Berlin Wall. And I think they gave me that project management job because I actually wasn't very good at being a software developer. but it turns out I was quite good at managing projects. I've been involved in software development since 1994, which is a long time. So this is kind of boring reasons why you might want to listen to me. I've delivered a lot of projects. I've delivered projects that were worth tens of millions of pounds. I've delivered projects on time and to budget, projects that have changed the fortunes of the companies that they were delivered for, or projects that I've done for government have made the world a better place, arguably. So that's why me. Those are the boring reasons. The less boring reasons are that I think I have a slightly different take on project management and software development. And that's really what I'm going to be talking about in this show. I'm going to be talking about these different takes on project management, that if you can look at things in these ways, then you can deliver things that look like they're impossible, and you can become part of the movement, part of the cadre of people who actually rule the world. And why you? So why should you listen to this? Well, you might be a software developer, you might be working on a team that is doing software development. You might be a project manager, which is what I am, who is interested in how to successfully manage those projects. Or you might be somebody inside an organization. There are lots of organizations like this that really need the software that a development team is building, and feel really powerless, don't really know what they can do to make that process better, to make that process smoother. And it's definitely the case that if you're in that last group, so you don't really know about things technically, and maybe you don't really know anything about project management either, but you know that you need this software for your organization, then this is for you as well. And then there's a final fourth category, which is anybody who is remotely interested in doing something. And I know that's a broad category, but a lot of what I talk about isn't really just focused on software development. The whole thing that I talk about different kinds of value streams for new things that are created, this applies to almost any kind of endeavor where you're trying to create some new thing. So I know I'm kind of deliberately making that very broad at the end, but that is really true. Okay, so I'm going to start with something that is kind of quite difficult to explain. I probably shouldn't say that, but it's connected to something that we kind of all understand, or we all know about, which is cars. So how do you make a car? This is a very interesting question, and it's a question that the Japanese car manufacturer Toyota struggled with really badly at the end of, actually it was before the Second World War. So they could see that in America people were making cars and being very successful. But they knew that the way that the Americans made cars, which was mass production, wasn't going to work for them, because they knew that the Japanese economy was very small relative to the American one at the time, and it was very cyclical, so that there were times when nobody had any money and nobody wanted to buy anything. So the Japanese, especially the Toyota car company, came up with this way of building cars, which was interesting in several ways. One was that it had the insight that the value that gets added to something that's on a production line is only being added when the production line is flowing. So if you add a part to a car, you've added some value to it. But that value only really gets realized if the production line keeps moving, and then the next part gets added, and then the next part, etc. So they focused on making the whole of that flow as smooth as they possibly could. And the second thing that they realized was that what's really important about this is that every car that you make connects with somebody who wants to buy it. Remember that they realized that they couldn't just mass produce cars like the Americans did. They had to kind of like have a consumer in mind, have somebody who wants to buy it in mind, and they called that pull. That is, that there's somebody at the end of this process who's wanting this thing that you're making. The American marketing copywriter and ex-convict, I have to reveal that, Gary Halbert said, the thing that he always wants in any kind of marketing competition is a hungry crowd. He wants people who want the thing. Now, this thing that the Japanese didn't invent but kind of radically improved, this idea of like making sure that at every stage of the production line something valuable was being added and that the production line was continually moving, and then at the end there was somebody who really wanted it. This thing came to be known as a value stream. So this is a stream of some kind, something is flowing, and at each stage value is getting added, and if things don't flow, no value is getting added. And this is a very good way of looking at established products. The problem is, it's not a great way of looking at new products, at new ideas, at new things that people are developing. And that's for two main reasons. And the thing that I want to talk about here is there are actually value streams in development of new products, but they're very different. So in a new product development, there are two value streams. One is really weird, and the other one doesn't exist at all. What do I mean by one is really weird? Well, in a new product development, there's an idea. And how that idea has come to gain value, how that's been constructed, how that's kind of flowed into being, is very often opaque. In fact, quite often with ideas, there are aspects of it that seem to be making it deliberately opaque. There are aspects of it that seem to be making it so that people don't really think about where the idea came from and what the value of it will be. So examples of this, often I kind of think of these as shiny language. Examples of this might be something like faster, using new technology, does everything that the old system did. All of that kind of language is there to kind of discourage people thinking about what actually is this idea and how might it work. So that is the weird value stream, and sometimes I think about that as a unicorn. And then there's the real value stream, which is the one that is actually going to deliver value from this product. And the problem in new product development is that that real value stream doesn't exist. Just think about it for a second. It doesn't exist. This is an entirely new product. It's not like, this is like inventing something that isn't a car and trying to put together a production line for it. The value stream for that thing doesn't exist yet. So you have to construct it. You have to put together this value stream. And that is what most of the activity inside of a project, whether it be a software project or any other kind of product development project, and I'm sure there are differences with other products, but there is this kind of similarity. And the problem is that when you start to try and put together that real value stream, which sometimes I think of as the cow, this is the thing that you can actually milk and get value out of, all of the way through that, you encounter problems, you encounter difficulties. You have to put in effort, and none of that effort that you're putting in actually results in any value. This is a big problem. So if somebody has a bright idea and then you're the team that is tasked with delivering that bright idea, you're going to have to actually scrape away that shiny surface and think, okay, what actually does this involve? What are we going to have to do to put the bits together to deliver the value? And very often by doing that, you start to kind of show that the idea isn't so shiny. Maybe the idea is much more expensive than people thought. Maybe some of the technical aspects don't work. Maybe some of the people who you need to talk to in order to really understand how this thing would come together don't want to talk to you, or you're not allowed to talk to you. There are all sorts of problems. So you find yourself kicking the unicorn in order to try and make the cow. And this desert, this kind of place, which is between the kind of excitement and of the value stream of the idea, and before you get to the point where you can actually assemble the real value stream and generate some real value, that's where most projects spend most of their time. Okay, so that's a very brief introduction to delivering the impossible. If you came for the full show, if I found a venue, we'd go on to kind of talk about how you can get out of that desert between these two value streams, different ways of seeing things that would allow you to get out of that desert, and also we talk about bad ways of seeing projects. You remember I said that if you look at things in the wrong way, you can end up being an idiot rather than a genius. We'll look at very common bad ways of looking at projects which stop projects from being successful. Thank you very much.